So we're gonna go ahead and just clean up the inside of our pot, and really just with anything where we make these sort of connections, we want to make sure our seams are really just well put together. So I'm pretty happy with this cup. I think it's going to be really cute. It's still just a little too wet to do too much crazy with. So I'm just going to try to get it as clean as I can, and then I'm going to set it aside. Let it get stiff, and then we can really get creative with, you know, the construction or the cleaning at least. So for this cup, I really want to sort of, it's an organic feeling cup. It's got that funny bottom. I want my handle to reflect that. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go get some wet clay, and we're going to pull a handle. And like I said earlier in the video, working on these, if you prep your slabs out before you get started, and even if it's just, you know, in the morning and you come back later in the afternoon, working in small bursts will allow you to get more done quickly than trying to get it all done at once. So roll out your slabs, as many as you feel comfortable. I would say try to get all of them done, maybe a few extra just in case, before you go and try to put things together. So just come in one day or set aside, you know, an hour of time and roll out all your slabs and set them aside for the day when you're ready to go work. So we're gonna pull a handle, and what we're gonna do is we're gonna sort of throw the clay down on the table till it sort of makes a carrot shape. Well, that's what I'm looking for. I'm looking for a narrow end to sort of work from. So I'm going to hold the thicker part in the top of my hand, and using just my thumb and my forefinger, I'm going to use light pressure and water to cause the handle to elongate. And I'm going to rotate the handle while I'm doing this, because if I only pull in one direction, it's going to remember that, and when you go to fire it, it's going to sort of lean in that direction, and we don't want that. We want a handle that just sits where it is. So as I'm pulling, I'm rotating, and I'm trying to get the feel that I want for it. So I like a wide handle with like a little bit of a divot in the middle for my thumb. I like the way that sits, because when I hold a mug, I like to hold it between my forefinger and my thumb. I don't like to put my hand all the way in the handle. So just like the first one, I'm going to go ahead and just give that a curve and set it aside, because it's super wet, and if I try to attach it now, it's not going to work out. So we set it aside, and we're going to let it get a little more solid. So once again, clean up all your little bits, because if your workstation's clean, you're going to have fewer issues in the long run. So I'm thinking about doing like a weird cup. I want something that's sort of odd shaped. And this is where slabs really just start to shine. So I am going to let the slab sort of freeform itself. First things first, you know, you gotta compress your slab, do it on both sides. And I'm going to cut off these funny bits. So I'm currently thinking about how I want it to be shaped, and I think I've sort of just decided on this weird round shape. So I am just going to sketch out the basic shape that I'm sort of shooting for. I want it to have a wide bottom and a narrow top. I'm just going to go for it. I'm going to wing it. Boom. Making decisions. Now that is not a very even cut, and that's okay. That's okay. It doesn't have to be, because we're trying to get a little crazy here. Take all your pieces and throw them to the side. I think I've decided it's a little thicker than I want it to be, so I'm going to take my rolling pin, and I want it to be a little longer, so I'm going to roll it going long ways rather than just from the wide at the top to the bottom. And when I do this, I'm not going to push very hard. I just want to stretch out my clay body, because if I really push into it, it might get too thin at certain sections. And we want it to stay pretty consistently even. And I think I've decided that this looks pretty good. So it sort of swooshes at the back, which is nice, and it's a very interesting shape. But I'm gonna cut a little half moon here to give it a more open mouth. And this is gonna make drinking from it a lot easier. So I'm trying to think about how the seam works for this one, and I think I've decided the seam needs to be, you know, a little more pronounced. And so I'm going to go ahead and just clean it up just a little bit, because it's not exactly even. And that's not a perfect cut by any means, but it's going to help me, you know, put the cup together without too much trouble. So I'm going to line it up on this slab and just see how much space I have, how much I need, if I need to make an adjustment. And then I'm going to take my, finger and just see if I've got it right. And I'm not super worried about the inside of this mug right now. I really want that connection to be solid. So I'm going to go ahead and use my serrated rib just all the way across and just slip the whole thing. Because the mug is a little funny shaped, I want it to really just have a lot of surface area to connect on. And I can go back in later, and I will, to clean the base connection. And I do recommend doing this on every cup. So I'm using my needle tool to cut out the outline of the base. I'm going to get all those pieces out of the way and solidify my connection. For this cup, I'm really thinking about how I want the handle to sit. I think it can't sit exactly, the same as every other handle. It's got to be a little funny. The cup's a little funny, the handle should be a little funny. So what I'm doing now is I'm trying to give it a little bit of a belly, and I'm using my fingertips to sort of just slightly, ever so slightly, push it out. And we really want to make sure that that rim is just not sharp. I cannot express to you how important it is to clean your rims. Now I got a little bit of water on the inside of here, so if you happen to get too much water, try not to let it sit on the inside of your pot. What's going to happen is it'll collect in one spot and cause an S crack, and that we don't want those. We can't fix those. Those are not fixable.